So we're here with Linda Wood, the creator of our Magic Button Bears, and there's always a big interest on, yes, they're cute, but how can they actually be used? One of the first things that people think of is angry at someone. You know, I want them to change. So what do you do with this?
Okay, angry at them. The very first thing I do is tap for your feelings about that. Tap for your feelings, because you're the one carrying the anger. You're the one the anger is hurting. You're the one that maybe you got angry at them 10 years ago, and 10 years later you're still carrying that. So take the bear and start tapping for your feelings and make this bear be you. Make magic just magically change into you. And even though I'm so angry because I feel this way, or I did that,
or he's a jerk,
or
this is not the time to hold back.
Yes.
All right, this is the time. You're not going to hurt the bear, and we'll talk a little bit about how you're not going to hurt the person that you're tapping at. Okay, we'll get into a little discussion about that. What you're doing now is you're working on your own energy, so you need to really get it out.
What causes our problem is denying our feelings, as you saw in the last segment. It's holding those things down and not being allowed to express them. And how many of us identified with not being able to let those emotions out? You know, yes, I think we all did. I think the whole room did. Oh, mother told me that. We want me to give you something to cry for. So now we're allowed to give it out, and you can, to get it out, and you can tell this bear anything. You can swear at it.
Yeah, please swear, please, whatever you're feeling.
You can do whatever you're feeling and really get into it. That's why they're made solid. They're not like a floppy toy. They're made solid so that you can really get into it and get it out. Get it to bubble up, get it out.
You can't get rid of the negative emotion until you can attach to it, until you can see that it's there. And then it works much faster. Also, if you realize if somebody's in a fight and they're yelling back and forth to each other, if you want this person to change, you want this person to change, you want this person to change, what happens when you stop fighting? They're yelling at themselves. So the first thing that you do is start tapping for yourself. And most people, if you have clients, most people do not think the problem is with them. So what you do, the first thing you say to them is, okay, the reason this is you is because we're going to try to change him later. But for right now, and you give them the little argument story. If somebody's yelling at you and you change your own behavior, because also, with knowledge comes responsibility, I know how to change. I have this tool. My husband doesn't have the tool, nor does he want it. My child doesn't have this tool, my teenager doesn't have this tool, until they're open to it, and we can get into that later.
And a good thing to think about is if you're fighting or arguing with someone, it's like batting a tennis ball back and forth. And if you quit hitting it, it can't come back at you again. So that's what you're doing.
And this is very hard to do for you. You have muscle memory in this. You know what happens when you get mad back. You know what happens if you do the silent treatment. You know what happens if you start to cry. You're well versed, and this is your safety. This is what's kept you safe in the fights. This is what's kept you safe if someone gets mad at you if you cry. So this is not an easy thing to do. So you start with yourself before you can handle something else.
Okay, so I'm angry at my husband, which that happens quite often. And I've done this. I've gotten the bear out, and how can he be so unreasonable? I am so angry with him. He's so unreasonable. And I love and accept myself. And even though I feel he's so unreasonable, I love and accept myself. You are so unreasonable. You are just so unreasonable. How can you be so unreasonable? How can you not see my point of view? How can you not see that you're wrong? You are so wrong. You are so wrong. How can you not see that you're so wrong?
I'm going to make a point here. You see she switched from this is me to this is her husband. That's okay. You're not going to hurt him. You're working on your energy, because that's the intent that you give. And even if I want you to change. I want you to change. If the person isn't ready to change, or I want you to die. Now I'm able to say that if I want you to die, I want you to die, I hate my boss, or whatever it is. It's not going to miraculously go over there and the person's not going to fall over dead. The reason is you don't accept energy unless it's going to be exactly good to you. Except for your children are very attached to you, and if you remind me later, we'll talk about that. But you don't have to worry that you're going to do anything to somebody else by getting your own feelings out, because you're working on your own energy. You're working on balancing your own energy.
You're not intending to kill them. You're not intending. The whole thing is about intention. You're not intending to hurt that other person. You're just intending to get this anger out.
And what you'll notice is you start balancing your own energy. You know, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
Yeah.
I just don't like you.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't hate you. I want you to see. Why can't you just see how hard I'm trying? I'm mad that you're, well, there was that one time that, I want you to do that more often. Why don't you do that more? Even though you won't do that more often, and I want you to do that more often because I need to be loved. And then all these emotions start coming up, and that's what you go through.
And then pretty soon it's like, well, how can I expect you to see what I'm feeling? And that's when you know you're moving some energy, when you can begin to, and at times you can really get into it and you can feel that you're angry, and then pretty soon you start to diffuse, and then pretty soon you may find something that's funny. And then when they walk back in that door, from what I've experienced and from other people I know have experienced, they've changed. It seems like they've changed.
The energy has changed. The energy around the whole situation has changed. And somebody can't get mad when everybody around them is not. I don't know if you've noticed that. And anything that you've seen that, I don't know how many of you are practitioners and how many, are doing this for yourself, but it works for both. Whatever you see going through, a person going through when you're on a one-on-one situation, you'll see them going through it when they're working with the bear. It's the exact same thing that happens. It's the exact same energy field, the exact same emotions, go from anger to sadness to guilt to everything that happens that you see with a client, same thing happens with the bear.
The miracle of it really is like, I'll give you a couple of examples. I had one gal who should have been so angry at her mother, and she was so angry, but that anger was all stored way down the bottom of her feet somewhere, and it was affecting her whole life. But she couldn't get angry at mother, wasn't allowed to. Culture, family belief, and plus I found out later she'd taken about 4 years of some kind of training, family therapy training, where you don't do that. So I was getting kind of frustrated with her because she wasn't getting it out. So I just kind of frustratingly got up and thought, I'm going to go grab a bear. And I went over and I grabbed a bear and I brought it back. This is your mother. This is your mother. How do you feel about her? And she just flipped. She just really got into it. It's okay to be angry at mother through this bear because it's not mother.
And if they start getting a little uncomfortable with that, because they'll be like, Dad, why did you leave me? Can I really do this?
Yeah.
And they'll look at you and they're like, no, it's okay, it's the bear. And they'll go, so it's okay? And then the curses and all kinds of things will start coming out.
You finally get the stuff out that needed to come out.
And it's much safer for me to tell the bear how I feel than it is to tell Linda.
Yeah.
Because I might be embarrassed saying, screw you, Dad. I'm not going to be embarrassed watching the bear. So it covers a lot of things if you use this. It takes away a lot of the shyness. Because you'll have people go, yeah, I was kind of, upset. They weren't upset. They were flipping out, crazy mad, but they're not going to say that to you. They're not going to curse in front of you, so the bear helps that as well. If your client is uncomfortable with a bear, one of the easiest ways to first use it is something called Gestalt empty chair. And without going into long dissertation about all that, you can read that somewhere. It's essentially whatever you're mad at, you can put that in a chair. And he becomes the empty chair. And you put him there, and now he's over here. And now you say, okay, now you're going to tap on yourself, but you talk to him. And I really didn't want, you left me when I was 5 years old. And I'm really sad about that. And, kind of mad. And then you left me and Mom, and we're all by ourselves. And you will see instantly emotion, even people who are very have inabilities to attach to their emotion. If you can put, it's not the therapist's face. So if you can put the bear there, the bear becomes. And then what you do is you have them switch when they're ready. And they become them. The bear, you actually physically switch chairs. And then you put the bear here, and that's them. And they become their father.
And that's when powerful things begin to come out, really powerful, when you have them look through. And I have them focus on the eyes, because I've had so many people say there's something about these eyes.